Hi everyone, welcome back. I hope that you're feeling wonderful, and welcome to one of the most important catalyzing times of the year of 2020. Today I'm going to be speaking about the full moon eclipse that we're having in Sagittarius on June 5th, and I'm also going to take that up to the level of the nodal shift that we've just had, which has been a highly requested topic. So I'm going to kind of consolidate these two topics together because they are intertwined a bit, as I think that this full moon in Sagittarius will really activate and solidify the nodes transits back into Gemini in Sagittarius. So for those of you who don't know what the nodes are, they are the 2 points of the moon that connect the moon's orbit to the ecliptic. And the nodes are really important in higher collective macrocosmic themes. If we're talking about transits like this, very connected to outlooks and perspectives and collective consciousness and philosophies within the collective consciousness, and that's mainly what I'll talk about today. But they obviously have some very strong meanings also in the natal chart too. You know, North and South Node dealing a lot with where the very independent part of yourself meets the outside world, connecting to destiny and things like that. I've done a T-chat about the nodes themselves on Patreon. I'll link that below. It would be a great time to sign up for my Patreon page. I'm doing T-chats, I'm doing extended readings over there, so be sure to check that out if you enjoyed this video. But moving on, we've just had, in recent times, the nodes shift from the Cancer and Capricorn axis into the Gemini and Sagittarius axis. And as we have seen, just at a mundane sense over the last few months, this has really catapulted the world into chaotic might not be the right word, but we are really dealing with a lot of stress as humanity. We are really trying to unravel and make sense of certain dynamics that have been very established, because the Cancer-Capricorn axis deals with an established status quo within the collective consciousness. It's sort of like an acceptance and a reservedness and a sort of playing it safe type of vibe, trying to learn by playing things safe and by reserving our energy. And as the nodes shifted into Gemini and Sagittarius before this time of June 5th, what we saw is that there is a communication of problems, and a communication also of a disease. Gemini is the sign of communication, and the sign of transmission and making a certain consciousness known between individuals. And then Sagittarius is the sign of ideals, higher philosophy, higher law, government, things like that. So it's very interesting to see some of the collective and societal things unfolding as we move the collective destiny from the sensations of Capricorn and Cancer to that of Gemini and Sagittarius. What an incredible shift, and what a strong ping of discomfort I feel that this gives to a lot of people, especially in its early days, especially around the time of this full moon. So bringing that into the ideas of this full moon lunar eclipse in Sagittarius that we're having on June 5th, what this does is it essentially strips away the aspects of society and the aspects of ourselves too that we did not feel we could conserve any longer, or we did not feel that we could reserve any longer, or contain or retain any longer. It strips that away and it leaves an open space for quite a brief period of time, I will say, maybe throughout July. It will leave a bit of a blank space, a few gaps to fill. But with all of the strong Capricorn energy that we have in the sky right now, which is so adjacent to some of these other smaller astrological transits we've had, such as the nodal shift back into Gemini, and such as this full moon in Sagittarius eclipse, such as it being the year of the rat in the Chinese zodiac. All of these things are very adjacent and very incompatible with the ideals of Capricorn. So we have friction this year. We have a lot of things that do not feel that the perfect solution exists, and that all solutions require some amount of risk or some amount of settling or something like that. So we are trying to heal that right now, and a lot of us are kind of like avoiding some of the bigger messages that are so easily available. So let's talk a little bit about what the higher significance of this nodal shift means when we have such a strong triple conjunction in Capricorn. So we have Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter in Capricorn. I've talked a lot about it. If you're new, I'll link some videos below about what that means more specifically. And to have the nodal shift back into Sagittarius and Gemini, you see it was in Cancer and Capricorn, as we're saying, which means that the collective destiny, the collective momentum was very much in alignment with the ideas presented by the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and Capricorn. It was very natural. It was very connective. Like the efforts and actions of humanity were in alignment with the certain momentum or the certain destiny ideals. And as the nodes shifted back into Gemini and Sagittarius, there's sort of a de-evolution, meaning that humanity's momentum and karmic insights were fell down a notch from the efforts and the actions trying to be taken. So now as we move into this June, July, August period of 2020, we have to understand that the momentum or the track that we're on, the path that we're on, and the actions that we are invoking or acting upon within this path have been split a little bit, okay? There's a bit of a splitting of the action versus the outcome. And what does it require to bring these things back in to alignment or back into an understanding? Essentially creating paths that we like, paths that we feel comfortable on, paths that we feel support us, okay? Getting to that point again is going to rely on a sort of philosophical understanding of what evolution takes place from Sagittarius to Capricorn, from the astrological perspective at least. So what, as the zodiac moves from 9th house to 10th house energy, Sagittarius to Capricorn, what is the evolution point? What is the understanding at this cusp? I talked in the June benevolence messages on Patreon about how Sagittarius is about an eccentric mix. It's about many different ideas coming together and many different overwhelming sensations coming together to create a bigger, higher-minded, evolved ideal. And what this turns into in Capricorn is more manifested and more reality based, which is why Jupiter is debilitated in Capricorn. Jupiter, as the traditional ruler of Sagittarius, is debilitated in Capricorn because Capricorn struggles to really manifest all of these high ideals in a way that is satisfactory for everybody. So it is very hard during this time, during this shift, to feel that you get along with everybody in your life. Also, there is a very big shift to the past as well that I feel with this energy, and it's the ideal of the past. It's not the actual past. We have, for a lot of individuals, the reemergence of an old goal coming in, because we had Saturn in Sagittarius in 2017 that went over this area that the nodes are now moving back into. And I think that you could look back to 2017 and see that you're really trying to connect to what you wanted or what you were aspiring to during that time, but also that it's shifted or it's transmuted in a way. And a lot of us have to really focus on what that looks like. I think that a lot of us couldn't quite keep up, and that's also why we have this Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto being so close to the nodes and just a little bit ahead, and the nodes are, they transit backwards, but just this conjunction is a symbol to me at this time that we haven't quite been able to keep up with our own standards, or we haven't been able to keep up with our own wants and desires, and now we have, with this retrograde, triple retrograde, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, septuple retrograde, if we're thinking of everything with, Neptune going soon and Mercury going soon. We have a lot, and then we'll even have Mars before too long as well. So we are having a complete reset, a complete look back, a complete rethinking, a complete rebranding, a complete re-envisioning, a complete checklist, okay, of what I set out for and what I accomplished and what does that mean for me as a person. So everybody individually, I feel, is going through that in some way or another. And for a lot of us, it doesn't make sense. A lot of us are asking, why now? Why am I going through this right now? Why is society going through this right now? Why is society, trying to rebrand and trying to, push so many changes through? Why am I wanting so many changes when I know that I'm safe where I am, or when I know that there's some amount of, trustability here? And that is because we are moving toward 2021, which is that huge Aquarius injection, true reformative energy at that time. And we're essentially looking back and trying to understand which parts of the past we want to take there, what things we've learned, what things we want, and what things we don't want. And we have to also embrace it with peace as well. You have to understand Sagittarius, the energy of Sagittarius and Gemini, if again we're looking towards the nodes, and how this lunar eclipse of June 5th comes in and strips certain things that prevent their capacity and leave a gap to fill. What that's filled with always with Sagittarius is something a bit abstract and something a bit intangible. So we have with all the Capricorns so much tangible reactions happening. We see on the news, or we see on Twitter, or we see on all of these places the momentums and the directions, and we try to then relate our own individual wants to those things. And it so quickly becomes action. It so quickly becomes reality with the Capricorn energy. And individually, so I'm still going to talk about the individual for a second, aside from these like collective ideals. Individually, we have to understand the power of our desires and the power of our motivations and the power of our ability to manifest, because it is very strong right now. Let's move on. Let's shift these topics back to some healing ideals and some healing thoughts. So a full moon eclipse in Sagittarius with this nodal shift. How great it is to get back to your core principles. How great it is to get back to your aspirations, your inspirations, and start to build them into something that is formidable and showable as well, something that can be elevated, something that can be a platform. So individually, aside from any of these, collective issues we're going through, it's really feeling to me that everybody has the opportunity to understand what it is that they want right now and start to build it over the next 6 months even. To be able to start to build these new ideals and these new projects. What a great time to heal the solar plexus chakra. What a great time to heal the sacral chakra as well. And to really start to unblock yourself and really stop adhering yourself to certain things that we've convinced ourselves that are necessary, or certain things that in our lives that we think like, oh, I just have to work, 70 hours a week. I have to work 70 hours a week. Otherwise, I will not get by. Otherwise, I will not be able to save. Otherwise, I will not be able to pay my bills. There are sweet, sweet solutions coming into old problems like this. Also, there are sort of like micro transformations coming in here too, as the energy is not big enough to create total and complete transformation right now. I'll stand by that with these retrograde Capricorn energies. We can have shifts, we can have second looks, we can have a small move, we can have a small shift on the chessboard, but it is not a time of the switching out of the board or the switching out of any of these huge long running experiences. We can really start to clean them up though, and we can really start to cleanse and purify the environment within it, because it is one of the most purifying energies I've felt, and it will connect again once we get into January of next year, and that'll kind of be a testing time with all of this. But what I kind of want to conclude on with all of this is that this period of time, first 2 weeks of June, coming through the rest of June, this is kind of a trade-off, or it is a connecting point. Yes, it is an opportunity point for a lot of people. It's a change if we needed it, if we avoided change, or if we couldn't change. This is an opportunity for it. And it's not really meant to be forever what happens here. That's something that I hear loud and clear. It's very resounding. I'm getting full body chills. It's not really meant to be forever what is here, but it is meant to change the game, and it is meant to really clear some things out, really purging a type of, something very heavy and dense being purged out. So it is kind of like a birth. It is kind of like it's like an ablution, I would say, where something very dense and heavy is being moved out. And it's not very long lasting, it doesn't feel to me. But the evolutions and the tears of joy potentially, or even potentially the fears of joy, these things are very strong, and they are very right over people's heads, like right on top of them. So yeah, we are working through that, and we're trying to come through that. And there's also something very theatrical about the energy, and something that really wants to put on a show, and something that really wants to be seen. So we want to be seen for what we are. We want to be seen for our capabilities. We want to be seen for our potentials, and we want to be seen for the opportunities that we can create. Sometimes the Capricorn energy can be so paternal, and it's kind of like, sometimes parents can never really see their children beyond like the time that the children became adults, and whereas the Capricorn, the Capricorn energy, it sometimes cannot really grasp other people's potential, especially people that displayed a certain youth or displayed a certain, need for shelter. Say that person then becomes very successful, or that person then, is rising up. The Capricorn cannot really sometimes see that. So this time is very similar. It can sometimes not see what is rising up. It can sometimes not see what power or what potential other things that have once been weaker now have. So we are building up towards that reformative energy of the Aquarian time, moving towards the new year of 2021. And so a lot of power is being gained right now, and a lot of potential, and a lot of health. What a great time to have like a last look of an unhealthy situation, the last look of something that was like really burning us out, or really overwhelming us, or really not so fine-tuned, not so coordinated. A lot of us, like I said in the June video, it's the last impression for a lot of us. It's the last page for a lot of us, and we are writing it in a very flowery, in some cases very exaggerated, and in some cases very theatrical way. We are using a lot of adjectives. We are using a lot of comparisons. We are really getting crazy with some of these metaphors and some of these analogies. And we're even like maybe hiring an illustrator to paint a picture on a page that had no pictures painted anywhere else. So this is kind of what this energy is like for this full moon eclipse. And why is it this way? It's because of this angle that it creates with the Capricorn stuff is not one that is harmonious. It is not one that is natural. It is not come by in a way that is authentic. So we have kind of maybe done a long, we've written an 800-page book in small print, and now right on the last few pages we're like, I'm going to up the print size, and I'm going to start putting in illustrations. That's sort of what this energy feels like to me. So we've got to really be committed to what we've been committed to, okay, and come through committed to our own health and our own well-being and our own truths, okay. And understand like our motivation to have written the other 700 pages of the book, to do one of those poor metaphors, and ultimately like what a great time to just like get healthy and to just like also have a sort of, what do I want to say? There is a heroic ability here to make things right for yourself, or to just like, be like, deal with it, I'm going to pursue what I'm doing, like deal with it. Like because people can get greedy during this time too. I feel that very strongly. Greed is at an all-time high. So everybody thinks that they really have the right or the place to determine other people's futures, or own what belongs to other people. Like those lines are getting very blurry. So watch out for thinking that you own somebody else's future. Okay, watch out for thinking that you own somebody else's resources. Watch out for thinking that, somebody is beholden to you, okay, in a very complete and absolute way. I'm seeing a lot of this in family dynamics, in relationships. I'm seeing a lot of this even in work dynamics. And that is a very... that theme is waving goodbye with this, okay? So really important food for thought. As my final note that I want to talk about for this eclipse and also this nodal shift is that what I feel this to introduce, because we've talked a little bit about what's waving goodbye, and this is what an eclipse always does, is it takes one thing away and it gives another. What I feel to be introduced is something pretty incredible, actually, and I feel it to be space. I feel it to be time. I feel it to be something empty, as I was saying in the beginning of the video. So what we have is the person who needed rehearsal space, now given that. What we have is the person who needed blank pages to write on, now given the notebook. It's not really the result. It's not it's not like the contract. It's not the thing that gives you the reward or the manifestation, but it's the space, and it's the and whether we're talking physical space, time space, whatever it is, just an empty room, a gym. So you want to be like the best dancer in the world or something, now you have like an empty room to like dance in and practice. And sometimes these things come at a high price during Capricorn year. It costs a lot for some people, yeah, but like what you're given is like almost completely changing to the entire karmic output of your entire life. And there's sometimes things like that don't have a monetary price, and this is what Capricorn must learn. This is what the Capricorn energy must learn right now, is that you cannot put a price tag on like on the universe. The universe has no price tag, okay? You know, I know like money's crazy right now, at least here in the US. Like even to like get a small bad apartment can sometimes be like thousands of dollars. But let me say, the universe and karma does not have a price tag. We cannot comprehend that. So some of us should maybe not put these apartments or these other ideas or these marriages, you know, if I marry this person, I'm gonna, you know, have a black card or something. Sometimes these things are so insignificant to the ideas of what we're actually here to accomplish. So what a great time to factor through this and to understand that space and time is one of the most important resources to humanity. So a lot of us are getting that here. That eclipse really gives a lot of us that. So what a blessing. What a great time to honor that. And what a great time to start getting stronger, to start getting healthier, and to use the more overwhelming part of the next 6 months, because eclipses really do work on a sort of like 6 month to a year axis. And what a great time to understand what you're here for, what your aspirations are, what you're inspirational about, what you're motivated for, completing something that needed to be completed for a long time, giving yourself the space to do something just to see what it means. All of these things are like imperatives right now. So do what you can. And even if it's not accomplishable yet, what is accomplishable is the understanding of its need or its lack of need. So again, ideals, philosophies, things like that with all of these you know, transits is very potent and very powerful right now. So don't underestimate it. Keep things kind, keep things loving, understand why there is pain around, because there are good reasons for the pain that is around. Try to not get angry at other people who are in pain. Try to not feel hurt by other people who are hurt, so that we can maybe solve some of these dissensions, so that we can maybe solve some of this contempt, so that we can actually come together in love and come together with a mutual understanding of how things need to progress in a way that is not you know, just pushing other people down. So good luck. I'm wishing you all a lot of love. I am really excited to see what the future is offering. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button, thumbs up the video, and comment below. Let me know what you thought. I will be talking to you guys next week. I do premieres every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Much love. Bye.